Hey, good morning. It's 7:03 on this Tuesday, May 5th. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. Tuesday morning, May the 5th, and we're glad to have you with us. And, of course, on Tuesdays, we're on the air for Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. Good to see Tracy Pope again. Tracy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Coleman.
Are you okay?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Well, I'm doing fine. And you have brought a special guest for us this morning. All your guests are special, really. But we want to welcome back Dr. Scott Frankenfield, the Medical Director of Emergency Services at Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Nice to have you again. Well, Tracy, what's it been like since you were here? Anything you want to tell us?
You know, we have changes daily at the hospital. We just lots going on. We're living in strange times now, and you know, our normal physicians and people that we used to have on the radio, we haven't quite gotten back to that routine. So it's all about COVID-19, coronavirus, what's going on. So we're just glad that Dr. Frankenfield is here to help us talk through some of the issues that are going on.
Well, it is good to have you, of course, and let's talk again, kind of from the beginning with you. Where are you from? Where you went to school? How you got here? Kind of summarize that, if you will.
So I am a Hoosier by birth, but my family lived in Wilson County, Tennessee, growing up in the Mount Juliet area, grandparents and aunts and uncles. And so when it came time to make a move from my hometown, I thought, what better place to be than down here? I visited in the summers, loved it, and now I live here all the time. So
I have a son who lives in the Kokomo area.
Is that right?
And it's always cold up there in the wintertime.
And dreary and everything else.
I bet you enjoy the winter better.
I definitely enjoy it down here better.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What about your schooling?
So I am, once again, from Indiana, trained there, did some training in Chicago as well. My trauma training was there, and then practiced in my hometown for a while, and once again, when it decided to spread my wings, and here I am.
Well, what's it been like lately for you?
I will tell you that some of the things that folks see on TV and hear on the radio aren't necessarily what we're seeing here in the Nashville area. We're definitely not New York City, but times have been a little stressful. We've definitely had some patients that come in on the ill side, and we're able to take care of them to the best of our ability. You know, it's been a learning curve for all of us. This was something that nobody expected when we talked about what was going to be happening in winter and spring back in the fall of 2019. We never thought 2020 would bring this, but now that we're here, we've got some experience under our belts, and hopefully we'll be able to put all this behind us soon. But in the meantime, we're more than able to take care of these coronavirus patients.
Well, let's talk right now. What are the current restrictions at the hospital?
So right now, when anyone comes in, that includes employees, physicians from the community, other providers from the community, EMS, and then obviously patients and visitors. Everyone is screened at the entrance for temperature checks to check to see if you have a fever, and if you do, then you're not, allowed entrance as an employee, and some recommendations are made on to how to get yourself screened for the coronavirus to make sure that that's not what the cause of your fever is. As far as patients go, that helps to then our staff to realize who may be sick and may be contagious with this coronavirus, and we're able to get them filtered back to the ER in a little more safe fashion. Right now, currently in our clinical areas, the emergency department, we're all wearing masks all the time, and are having patients do that as well. We still have a no visitor policy unless patients are critically ill, and there are some exceptions to our surgical patients as well. But for the most part, it's no visitors. Once again, just to cut down on the amount of people that we're allowing in the doors, and reducing our risk.
Has that been a problem to speak of? Most people understand and hardly question it, just go along with what you demand here, require.
There are some horror stories that you see on the news about people, who have been restricted visitation or been told that they have to wear a mask. But, the good folks of Wilson County and Middle Tennessee have seemed to buy into the program and understand the risks, and everyone has really cooperated with it. Now, obviously, it means more communication via telephone for our providers and our nurses with family members. But aside from that, things have gone pretty smoothly.
Well, the public is shying away from hospitals for a good reason, somewhat at least. But what precautions are in place to calm the fears from going to the emergency department as needed? You may have already answered that some, but you might expound more on that.
Well, and so it's one of the things that we're seeing, across the nation right now. Emergency department visits are down about 40%. And does that mean people are having 40% fewer emergencies? I honestly doubt it. I think that people have just been a little fearful of going to the emergency department or hospitals in general because of the risk of, or at least the perceived risk that they have of getting the coronavirus. And I'll tell you that the things that we've implemented to help prevent folks, whether once again that's all of our employees and staff wearing masks, all of our patients wearing masks, practicing social distancing in the hospital, which includes in the waiting room keeping people more than 6 feet apart, temperature checks on the way in. We've done everything possible to build that safety net to prevent any spread of the coronavirus within the hospital. And so what I would say to those folks who have been shying away, if you have chest pain, if you have stroke-like symptoms, if you have a traumatic injury or any other thing that you deem an emergency, we really, are well equipped to see you, and your risk of contracting the coronavirus at the hospital is, probably less so than out in the community. And for that reason, I would say, if you have an emergency, we are open and we are ready to serve you.
Okay, if a person makes a decision to visit your emergency department, what precautions should the patient and or family members take before visiting?
So, it just comes down to some of the same things that we've talked about. We will definitely temperature screen you for a fever when you come in. We will provide you with a mask when you come in. And then once again, we want to limit the amount of folks that are coming into the hospital, once again, just to decrease the potential risk for infection. And therefore, the patient will come in. If the patient's a minor, then a parent can come in with them. But outside of that, family members are asked to wait outside, and we communicate with them that way. And really, those are the things, plus the things that I've spoken about.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have some restaurants that are opening up for dine-in meals. Any guidance that you'd have for the community regarding that?
Honestly, it goes with the restaurants as well as stores. I mean, social distancing has proven to be effective, and that's that distance of 6 feet apart. So if you go to a store, a lot of those stores now have the tape on the ground, and they say, this is 6 feet apart, which is also the length of about 2 shopping carts if you just want to do that visualization. And so, when you go to a restaurant, maybe sit every other table. Some of those restaurants, I'm sure, are marked off to be that way. As you wait in line, maybe to be seated, wait 6 feet behind the people in front of you to do that. I advise wearing masks while you're doing that. Now, obviously, can you wear a mask and eat? No, but you can easily pull it down because those folks that you're around are typically from your own household, and so you've already been exposed to those germs that those folks carry. But you want to try to prevent spread of anything that you may have to the general public, and then obviously you don't want to catch anything that the general public may have. So once again, social distancing, 6 feet apart or 2 shopping carts, and wear a mask when out in public.
Well, I think we have been waiting and have been ready to break out a little bit, and I was awfully glad to see the restaurants opening up. I don't mind the distancing and all of that. I just wanted to go in and eat. If people practice social distancing and wearing the mask is there much to fear, you think?
Well, I honestly think, I've seen some sick folks that have gotten the coronavirus. I definitely have seen some ill people. There's always arguments as to, is this more severe than the flu or some of the other illnesses that we have? And I think that that's yet to be seen. I think that the research is still out, and this is still a learning, once again, a large learning curve for us as we're dealing with a novel virus that our population hasn't seen before. So I think, a year from now, we'll be able to look back and say, did our social distancing work? But I would definitely say that is one of the best recommendations that we can make at this time is to continue social distancing, continue to wear the mask. I think that as the weather gets warmer, obviously, if you're, hanging out with people that are in your own household that you've already been exposed to, Getting outside with them is a great thing. If it's people that you might not have been exposed to and you just want to say hi, 100%, you can do that. You can get out to eat. You can get out to these stores, but just make sure that you're going to places where not only you are wearing your mask and social distancing, but the employees of those places are also masking up and keeping social distancing. So you want to be cognizant on both sides.
When's the last time you shook hands with somebody? You remember?
It's all elbows now. It's all elbows.
It has been a while. I didn't pay a lot of attention to that in the very beginning, but then we started bumping elbows a little bit. And
Right.
in fact, somebody, my guest the other day, as he left, started to shake my hand. And, let's just touch elbows.
Right.
But I didn't want to break the chain here or whatever.
Right.
But a lot of people are doing that, and I guess we feel a little bit safer, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when you think about it, hands, we don't think about how many times a day we touch our face. There's been studies that say sometimes, up to 100 times a minute, you can touch your face or rub it, and you do it subconsciously. But obviously, there around your mouth and around your nose, you can pick up germs, and then you go to shake hands with someone else. Or, you've also put your hands on a shopping cart, or you put your hands on a stairway railing, or you've leaned up against a wall with your hand. And, hands can be dirty things. And so hand washing is obviously critical. Hand sanitizer as well, especially, one that has a 60 to 90% alcohol content. But if you can keep your hands off other folks, it's just like what parents taught you as a young kid. Keep your hands to yourself. You honestly will keep those germs to yourself as well.
Okay, Dr. Scott Frankenfield, Medical Director of Emergency Services at Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital, is here along with Tracy Pope. Tracy is Director of Community Relations for Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. And, of course, our program each Tuesday presented by Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital here on Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And it's now 7:16. Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to Bates Ford and the Works Vehicle Checkup. They'll make sure your vehicle is ready for any road. Up to 5 quarts of oil, tax and disposal, tire rotation, and safety check. Bates Ford, 1673 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Traffic still moving right along at this point here through Mount Juliet as we check it out live here on I-40 West into Hermitage. Wrapping up that wreck on the east side. 2 cars collided, 1200 block of Fatherland Street. Traffic's on the increase now out of Dixon County on I-40 East up by 840 coming through Kingston Springs. Check out the premier luxury vacation cabins near Gatlinburg. Log on today, CosbyCreekCabins.com. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing has experienced new leadership and a new atmosphere. Same location in the heart of Lebanon, 731 Castle Heights Court on the Castle Heights campus. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing is providing 5-star clinical outcomes to short-term and long-term care residents. Call 615-444-4319 for a tour and to experience the new culture. Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing. Coleman and Company, thanks for joining us, and our thanks to Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital for being our sponsor, our advertiser. 2 times a month we have a medical professional, and 2 times a month we have Tracy Pope to come out, and whoever she brings, we're always delighted to have. And this morning, Dr. Scott Frankenfield. Hoosier transplanted to Tennessee.
That's right.
Well, we've talked about a lot of this, but let's talk about symptoms. I hear from time to time people say that they had some of these symptoms. They were sick for a little while or felt bad and got over it rather quickly, and that they could have had the coronavirus.
That's definitely possible, and I think one of those things that, a year out from now, and we have some hindsight, with us or under us, we'll be able to say that. I think that, as we look, that the virus was probably in the community or in the United States earlier than what we had, once thought, and some antibody testing is proving that. So, I think that those people that have had, the body aches, typical flu-type symptoms might have tested negative for the flu. But fever, body aches, cough, some chest pressure, tightness, all those things, going to go along with the symptoms of coronavirus. People talk about loss of taste and loss of smell. And then there are obviously people who are just carriers and they're asymptomatic, have no symptoms. And, are still able to spread that. And it's just the way, I guess, the luck of the draw in your immune system as to how those symptoms manifest themselves when you get the coronavirus. But
but what about age? We hear that people who are maybe over 65 are much more susceptible to problems, even death, from this than people who are younger. Is that basically true?
Right. I think that when you look at the data right now, once again, a little time with this and some more experience is gonna point to better answers for that. But I think if you look across the general population right now, yes, it has shown to be a little bit more severe in folks over the age of 65. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't complications with those people that are younger. It just seems like as a whole, and the worry about that is it their underlying medical illnesses? Is it some of the medications that they may be taking? Is it just an age-related thing in general? And I think, all of those answers are definitely under investigation currently. But it's going to take some time for our epidemiologists to lay all of that out and say, okay, this is the pattern by which this virus goes, and this is what we need to be concerned. But right now, I think a general statement is yes, those over 60 to 65 with underlying medical conditions are probably more prone to complications from this.
But as a general rule, don't younger people get over things, whatever it is, usually a little bit better than some of us older people?
Right. And so, I think that when we look at any illness in general, somebody who's of advanced age and has a heart attack probably has a greater risk of complications from that heart attack than somebody who is age 50. And I think some of it just goes along with, the age of our organs as well. And so when older lungs get infected by this, respiratory illness, I think that obviously you're going to be potentially more prone to complications from that. But you're right, that's it, that in general.
And again, the symptoms of this are pretty much outlined. There are some flu-like symptoms, but it's a little bit different, isn't it?
Right, and so you typically, when you develop a complication from coronavirus, it's typically that of a viral pneumonia type illness. Influenza, will give you the body aches. Now you can get a viral pneumonia from influenza as well, but it's just not as common, and we don't see the complications coming from influenza that we've seen from coronavirus. I mean,
most people start with a fever here.
When you say most people, that's hard to say. Once again, hindsight a year from now will give us some better data on this. But, I think that fever is one of the first symptoms, sometimes just the cough or maybe a little feeling of shortness of breath or chest congestion, and then the fever develops. But I will tell you this, it's also allergy time. If you just have sniffles or you have a runny nose or you have, you're sneezing, that's not coronavirus. I think that we can safely say that sort of thing. So, once again, give us time and we'll have this whole thing plotted out and studied to the nth degree. But right now, we're going on our best assumptions, and that's based on the research that we have to date. And once again, fever, cough, lower respiratory symptoms, not the upper respiratory symptoms like sneezing and sinus and runny nose, those sorts of things.
Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital is a chest pain accredited center. And what does this mean in an emergency?
So once again, I want to say people aren't without heart attacks all of a sudden just in the midst of coronavirus. So if you do have chest pain, I implore you, please come in to the emergency department and get evaluated. We are open for business, and we can do that safely and prevent you from being exposed to coronavirus and also handle your chest pain at the same time. So us being an accredited chest pain center means that we can get you in, we can get your workup done, we can get you treated as needed for chest pain and heart attack. We are open for business.
Well, tell us how you're now utilizing Vanderbilt resources if someone comes to Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital ER with stroke-like symptoms. Are you also a certified stroke center?
We are a certified stroke center, and that takes some pretty rigid evaluation from the accrediting body. And so we just recently were reaccredited as a stroke center, and that's based on the technology that we have to determine strokes in our CT scans. That's based on staff training, and that's based on our neurology availability. And right now we are able to provide teleneurology services through Vanderbilt. So right in the emergency department, and I can give you an example. I worked clinically yesterday. We had a patient that had stroke-like symptoms that came in. We were able to administer that stroke-busting medication within about 20 minutes of their arrival through the door, and then get teleneurology right there at the bedside to evaluate and speak with the patient just as quickly. And so it's a pretty amazing process. And I think that when it comes to both chest pain and strokes, we're very good at what we do.
Well, one thing that's kind of been put on hold for a while, and pretty much I think ordered even by the governor, elective surgery. And somebody said they didn't know why it was elective surgery if you were about to die, but this was somebody who was wanting something done now and not having to wait a while, But elective surgery has been put on hold, right?
Well,
had
been put on hold, and now as of yesterday, we are back open to do elective surgery. So if there's something that you've needed to get done, whether it's that nagging gallbladder or maybe a hip, you can definitely see the surgeon who you had planned for that procedure and get on the schedule now to get that done. And once again, those procedures are being performed under the same scrutiny as any visitor coming into the hospital, and that will be, we ask the certain screening questions at the door. You get your temperature checked, prior to any of those things. And if you would potentially screen positive for coronavirus based on your symptoms or based on your temperature, obviously that'll probably nix your surgery for that day until you get a further evaluation. But right now we are open again for elective surgeries and doing those very safely.
Well,
and I'd just like to reiterate that elective does not mean non-essential. It just simply means a scheduled surgery. So if you have needed that scheduled surgery, and we are going by certain criteria initially, so it's typically for most healthy people, you have to meet a certain criteria and guidelines. When you are called for your pre-admission workup, you're asked a series of additional questions that we didn't typically ask before. And I'm fairly certain that all patients are getting a COVID coronavirus test before they have their surgeries as well. So that is something new. We were recently not testing patients that were asymptomatic, but we are for any scheduled cases. So we're gonna be doing this for a few weeks, and then based on the governor's recommendations, we'll move to that next phase.
Can I expand on that, Coleman?
Sure.
Hey, so once again, those were elective surgeries. Any emergency surgery, if you came in and you had an appendicitis or something from an orthopedic standpoint that needed surgery, now we have been open. We have been doing those procedures once again, but that's an emergency surgery. Right. Elective means scheduled, and so Tracy expanded on that.
And that's probably a good way to put it. Elective means scheduled.
Yes, sir.
and an emergency situation like you're talking about was not scheduled, not planned. Something happened, and you need help immediately.
Right, and we've been open for business and doing those this entire time.
But you probably have somewhat of a backlog of elective surgeries. so everybody can't come at once. It has to be, and I don't know who will decide that, but
we have a team of people at our hospital that are planning and organizing and communicating with our physicians daily on our processes. So we've had great communication from that standpoint, and we have a plan. So I'm sure your physician will communicate to you as well.
Well, I would think you're not any different from any other hospital in that respect, but because all elective surgeries have been put on hold all across the state, as I understand.
Yeah, once again, we're so fortunate to be part of the Vanderbilt health system, and they have been communicating and collaborating with all the major healthcare systems, as HCA and Ascension and Vanderbilt. So we're all on the same schedule because we want all of our physicians to have, the same plan and every hospital to be equal. It's been really nice.
Well, let me ask the doctor this. As people get out a little bit more, we're opening up our restaurants. We're going to be allowing groups, maybe up to 50 to meet. I've heard that. As people get out and about, do you anticipate more coronavirus people coming down with that? Is that how's that going to affect our curve here? Whatever.
So, honestly, I think that it's yet to be seen. I think that just common sense would say that if the coronavirus is still in our community and, there are those people that don't have symptoms that are carrying it, and you get out and about, you have the potential to see those numbers spike. And I think that that's yet to be determined at this point. And that's why, as we do get out and this weekend was beautiful. Yeah. It was great to be outside. But when you do that, just be smart and say, that coronavirus is that silent enemy or that invisible enemy that you can't see, and it's out there. And the best way to protect yourself, once again, is to limit your contact with other folks. Household contacts that you've been in contact with are fine. But outside of that, you really need to social distance, and you really need to wash your hands, and you really need to wear those masks. And, that may be a way of life through this summer, this upcoming fall, and maybe even this winter, as we work on a vaccine and get more information on the illness in general. But it's hard to say that the numbers won't go up if it's still out there and we get back out and don't practice these social distancing techniques.
Been nice to have you both here. We always let you have the last word, Tracy. If you've got a last word this morning, you can say it.
I do. So we would just like our community to know some resources. Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital.com is a great resource for anyone that has questions. It has recommendations on what you should be doing now. It has resources if we have community members or individuals that are just wanting to help or do something at the hospital. We've had a great number of people reach out to support us in many ways, but we have additional resources on the website. We have a link to the CDC website. So if anyone has questions, and that information sometimes does change daily. So continue to look at the website, and if there's anything that we can help with, just let us know.
Well, good to have you both here today. Tracy Pope, Director of Community Relations for Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital, and Dr. Scott Frankenfield, Medical Director, Emergency Services. Thank you, Doctor. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Coleman.
And that is part one of Coleman and Company. We hope you'll keep it here for more. FM 98.9.
And it's now 7:29. Let's see what's happening on the roadways. It's all brought to you by Absolute Kubota and Rental Land Pride. Quality tractor implements, including cutters, finish mowers, box blades, tillers, and more. 5-year gearbox warranty. Extremely durable and well-built. 1325 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Traffic still looking good right now as far as interstate accidents and delays. Watching it pick up just a bit here coming out of Wilson County into Davidson on I-40 westbound through Mount Juliet. Traffic still holding up at the moment, down 65 through Madison right now. Hey, check out the premier luxury vacation cabins near Gatlinburg. Beautiful Cosby Creek Cabins. Log on today, CosbyCreekCabins.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
71 degrees all the way.
73 degrees, please.
So what's your perfect degree of comfort? We'll help you find it with professional Rheem HVAC service that'll keep your home comfy year-round, save on energy costs, and may qualify for utility rebates and tax credits. So enjoy a new degree of comfort.
72 degrees, and I'm good to go.
Financing available through TVA's Energy Right program and your local power company. Call Randy's Heat and Air 237-3604.
With churches not being able to gather, we wanted to make sure our audience is aware of our regular Sunday morning programming. We call it God's Country. Starting at 7 o'clock, it's Southern Gospel and positive country music. From 7:30 to 8, it's The Gospel Show, hosted by Miss Dean. 8 o'clock, it's College Hills Church with Minister Wilson McCoy. At 8:30 to 9, it's Word of God broadcast by Ronnie Briley. From 9 to 9:30, Hillcrest Baptist Church with Pastor John Ferguson. From 9:30 to 10:30, it's Call on God Today, hosted by Brother Kenneth Bowen. At 10:30, it's another message from College Hills Church. From 11 to 11:30, Maple Hill Church with Minister Rob Long. And from 11:30 to noon, it's Southern Gospel and positive country music. Join us each Sunday on WANT or WCOR or online at WANTFM.com.
Vanderbilt Health is honored to announce the newest addition to our family of hospitals, Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital in Lebanon. This hospital will provide care for Wilson County residents with the goal of improving the health and well-being of our newest community. Hospitals are for healing, new life, and recovery. They're places of innovation and learning. At the end of the day, hospitals are all about one thing: community. Thank you for welcoming us into yours. Let's do great things together.
Today we do have a slight chance of rain, mainly before noon. Otherwise, skies will be mostly cloudy. Highs this afternoon will top out in the upper 70s. Wednesday's forecast looks fantastic. Highs on Wednesday will top out near 70 degrees with bright sunny skies. This weather forecast is brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty. Professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist TJ Scott.
Coleman and Company, welcome to Part 2 here on a Tuesday morning. Sean Dozier's joined us. He's Executive Director of Hardside Senior Living, and we're ready to get going this morning. Sean, good to see you.
Good to see you, Coleman. It's always fun to listen to you off air. You never know what you might learn. And
well, we talk all the time.
And then you just cut off. You just cut it off. You know, I don't get to. You don't get to finish your story. So,
well, that is not worth finishing.
No. No, everything's going well. I appreciate you having me on.
I want to know if you had any damage. We had
I appreciate you mentioning that. Yeah,
night.
Sunday night.
You know what? I've got some tomatoes set out, and I have these cages. Every one of my cages blew down last night. I got work to do today. That's okay. They're not big enough to hurt anything yet.
Well, I haven't checked our garden at Hardside, but Sunday night, we had a electricity out, so I appreciate Middle Tennessee Electric. We were out for about 3 hours, so I got there about 5 or 6, and they got us on about 10 o'clock. But our residents did great. We were kind of used to that. March 3rd we had the tornado, so of course that it wasn't as bad as that. But we were out for about 3 hours, and Middle Tennessee Electric came through, and they did great. But no damage at Hardside. I think last night, actually, I saw some pictures already on Facebook. Some of our residents posted that lived down in the independent living community, and some of their furniture was thrown around and torn up. So I think the wind last night was pretty bad. I heard it, but I didn't really grasp how bad it was.
Well, I slept through it all. But there's the trees have budded out, and you got the boughs or whatever, the leaves. A lot of them are scattered out everywhere this morning. There must have been quite a bit of wind.
I think it was. But we did great. The residents did great on Sunday, and our staff did great, so I appreciate everybody checking on us. Again, we were out for about 3 hours, and again, Middle Tennessee Electric, they do a super job.
Well, you got any openings right now?
We do. We have a couple openings. We have 2 medium rooms that are open, and so we're doing those virtual tours right now, and things are going well there. We have several people interested in those. Right now, people are a little iffy about, assisted living or hospitals and nursing homes. So we're doing those virtual tours explaining, how the process works. We had 5 admissions in March, actually, and then it's kind of slowed down a little bit in April. But people are now starting to get back looking at assisted living.
Well, when you are limited somewhat, as you are now, and you don't have to take advantage of that, you probably want to wait a little while if you can. But then if somebody needs it, we're
ready to go. We have a protocol that we do. Of course, everyone is tested for COVID-19 before they come in the building, any new residents. And of course, if they go out to the hospital, they're tested. So we've had several residents that have gone out to the hospital and have been tested and have come back negative. Hardside right now has no cases, which is great. The governor announced,
and you haven't had any. Right?
We haven't had any.
You're zero.
We're zero right now. So that's great. That's great news. But the governor, of course, announced last week, and the Tennessee Department of Health announced that they're going to test all nursing homes and all assisted living. So all residents and yes, all staff have got to take that test. I'm not looking forward to it. I don't know why I'm not looking forward to that test, but I've seen those videos, So we've all got to do it. We've all got to be a part of it, and I think that's a good thing. We all want to know if we have any cases. So we're going to do that in the month of May. I got a letter last night saying we're going to have it done in the month of May, and I think the National Guard is going to come out, and because that's a lot of homes, that's a lot of nursing homes and a lot of assisted livings to do in the month of May. So we'll find out, just like the prison system. The prison system is being tested as well. So we're all going to be tested to see how we're doing.
Well, it's something to look forward to.
No, it's not, Coleman.
Depends on your perspective, I guess.
I'm trying to.
You're trying to spin this in a positive way.
I'm trying to have a good attitude about it, but anyway, we got to do it, and I think it's a good way to protect our residents to make sure nobody has it.
Now, this doesn't apply to your
no. If you live in an independent living community, you don't have to take a test. But we're full down there at Coleman. We've got no houses right now for sale, and none, I don't think, coming up. So that's great. We're continuing.
All those people staying there pretty much?
Yeah, they are. They're starting to get out and about. You know, they're using our walking trail a lot. They're
Yeah,
getting
but
out
I was wondering if
walking
any of them
and-
had taken, but I guess nobody's hardly been traveling at all
they're
in the
not
last
traveling
month
much.
or two.
No, it's been very, very quiet. They're using our $3 meal service, you know, our curbside pickup. So our revenue from curbside pickup has really gone up in the month of March, April, and May too. So we're making some money off those $3 meals. You think we wouldn't, but I'm telling you, they're using that service.
Well, that's good. And then anybody else that comes in off the street, or you don't maybe come and get, they pay $5, right?
Yes, that's right.
So
but we haven't had many of those.
Oh,
but
you haven't had? Okay.
No, we don't. Of course, we don't have guests right now, so we don't have any visitors. But those $3 meals from the folks using that service has really been. It's been great for them because they don't. The restaurants haven't been open, so they've been using our dining room to eat lunch and dinner.
Well, I guess we're about ready for a Hearthside hello.
Well, you meet somebody that you haven't met in a while or haven't really met at all. And I met Adrian Kelly last week, and he's a great guy. Adrian Kelly, you know, he's the son of Mr. Kelly and works at Bates Ford. He's a great guy, and Adrian Kelly has a lot of energy and a lot of spunk, and I really enjoyed meeting him last week. So Hearthside hello,
Ronnie Kelly,
Ronnie Kelly's son. So Hearthside hello to Adrian Kelly.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you have a good week. Oh, by the way, we didn't mention Mother's Day.
Mother's Day is coming up.
What's that going to be like?
So Betty Kelly, our activities director, is going to do something on Saturday for all the mothers and take photos and do things like that. And then we're having a drop-off time, 8 to 12, Saturday and Sunday, for anybody that wants to drop off anything to their mother. And, of course, they can visit their mother. Unfortunately, you know, they can't visit directly this year, but they can talk with each other through the phone, through the window, and several people are taking advantage of that. It'll be a little different this year, but
people will be innovative.
People will figure it out. FaceTime, you know, phone calls, just the old-fashioned phone calls is a good thing to do, you know.
Good. Well, thanks for being with us. See you next year.
Thank you.
All right. Sean Dozier, Executive Director of Hearthside Senior Living, 215 Castle Heights Avenue North. We're 20 before the hour, and I have invited our Director of Schools, Dr. Donna Wright, Director of Wilson County Schools, to come and be with us this morning. Really, it's a regular visit. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
And we try to schedule you, and most of the time we're successful in having you after the board meets. Board of Education meeting. You had one last night, and I think you even made the television news at 10 o'clock last night.
Did I?
Yeah, well, the school did.
Okay.
They told what you're going to tell us again this morning, probably. And it has to do with the schools that were damaged through the tornado 2 months ago.
Yeah, last night was a large viewing audience, even for our board meeting, because of much of it was contingent as far as what we not only were going to roll out as far as what we were referring to the catastrophic education plan for next year, as well as some other items that were on the agenda. But last night was one that we needed to give sort of a sense of, I guess, direction for next year, because again, going back to March the 3rd, no one anticipated that not only would we be out of school due to the tornado, but also because of the pandemic that followed within a week. And so we had a plan to finish out the school year, and it was an emergency plan for the final 9 weeks, where we were literally going to house Stoner Creek Elementary with Springdale and do a split schedule, and then the same with West Wilson Middle School moving in with Mount Juliet Middle School. Again, 9 weeks, get us through state testing, and then we would start looking at what we would put in place for the following year. In the meantime, with all that, Coleman, it just created a lot of tension, a lot of, I guess, rumors as far as what was going to happen. And again, 1,700 kids were displaced from that storm, and 150 staff members. And so there was a lot of speculation as far as what were we going to do, and if anything, take that new high school down there that no one needs and make it a K-8. Well, that wasn't a possibility. So working with what we knew we were going to need to put together, we had to look at proximity, logistically, particularly with the neighborhoods that we would be serving, because buses are always an issue. And the other thing we had to look at, what were the grade configurations, because one thing, we were not going to compromise instruction. So there was a lot of planning and looking at just the numbers. And so what we rolled out last night We kept the natural feeder patterns. West Wilson Middle School feeds Mount Juliet High School now. Mount Juliet Middle School feeds Green Hill High School. And so last night, what we presented, that's the 7th and 8th grade that rolls up for next year, will become members of the Mount Juliet school coming in from West Wilson Middle School. So 7th and 8th grade, West Wilson rolls up to Mount Juliet High School.
All right.
Because we will be drawing down, because of the rezoning, which was also part of it, we brought the staff. In fact, I even brought numbers just in case there might be some interest in that. But the numbers will be around 2,100 for Mount Juliet High School when we roll the 7th and 8th grade up there, which that's what the high school has been rolling around under normal days. 7th and 8th grade at Mount Juliet Middle School will roll up to Green Hill High School. And so if you look at this configuration for grade bands in the state, 7th through 12th grades considered secondary, which is high school. We're taking Mount Juliet Middle School for the year, and this is just a measure for the year until we get the 2 buildings constructed. It will be K-5, so you'll have Stoner Creek housed at Mount Juliet Middle School, staff and students. And then we're taking 6th grade from both Mount Juliet Middle School and West Wilson Middle School that will be housed at Mount Juliet Middle School. So you'll have a K-6, which is elementary grades at Mount Juliet Middle School. The 2 high schools will be 7-12. And you're having a natural feeder pattern into both of those schools where they would have rolled up.
Okay. I guess this was voted on.
Well, it was one, yes. And I'll say this because it was one of the things that, where does the approval come? Day-to-day operations falls to the director of schools. I mean, that's standard. There was no budget implication, and there were no calendar changes. But what I asked from the board, because this is significant, this is a community plan that I would like their blessings, and it was 7-0. I mean, I had full support.
Okay. Well, all right. What objections could there be to this? You've got to do something, and whatever you do is probably not going to please everybody, but still, hopefully, we're going to have school, and school's got to go on, and you've got to work through the tornado damage.
Well, and it's surprising, and again, I call it the reviews, but much of the feedback that came last night, not only on social media, but just texts and messages that were coming in, there was relief, good plan, we can do this for a year, this is how communities work together. It was all positive.
Well, that's got to make you feel very good.
Well, yes, in many ways, because this is sometimes, we need to hold hands.
Yeah.
This is tough for everyone. And we knew that we needed to also give relief for parents. That half-day schedule that we're doing, the split schedule, if people are able to transition back to work, they needed assurances that their children would be okay. And with that, meaning that they would be in school, we would be providing for them, and they didn't have to worry to make additional arrangements. There's been too much as far as stress and anxiety, particularly in the Mount Juliet community, because of all the damage, they suffer from the tornado, and then have this on top of it. And I think that was something giving me relief, absolutely, because that's part of my job. Families need to feel comfortable. They need to feel like their children are being cared for. And most of all, as far as particularly looking at 60 days out of school, what it is that it'll look like when we come back to school, hopefully in the fall.
As it stands right now, when's school going to start? Assuming school is going to start, when?
I feel like Cassandra of Greek mythology, the prophet. The August 6th, under normal circumstances, and that's something that I am, with a prayer every morning, Coleman, we need our children back in school. Yeah. We've done a lot of great things as far as, offline, distance, reassurances from teachers, but we need children in the classrooms. There is a big difference. And so that's my hopeful prayer every single morning.
Dr. Donna Wright, Director of Schools, is here. We've got more to talk about after we go to a break. This is Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And it's now 7:48. Let's see what's happening on the roadways. It's all brought to you by Bates Ford. Low price tire guarantee on all tires every day, up to 30 days after the sale. There'll be any competitors' pricing on the tires they sell. 1673 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
It still looks good here up through Brentwood, Franklin, as we check it out live here on 65 northbound. As you come past Cool Springs, it's a couple of minor accidents out here. Most have been over in East Nashville for some reason. 1500 block Duggar Drive, there's been a crash there. Mopping up that one at 1200 Fatherland Street. Coming in from Dixon County, still looks good on 40 eastbound, passing 840. Hey, check out the premier luxury vacation cabins near Gatlinburg. Log on today, CosbyCreekCabins.com. I'm Commander Chuck, you're on time traffic.
Welcome to Hearthside Senior Living, Lebanon's unique senior living community designed for seniors to age in place, all within a safe, comfortable, and Christian environment. Beautiful retirement homes designed for an independent lifestyle with maintenance-free living. Hearthside Senior Living also continues the excellent tradition of assisted living for those seniors who need additional services. Hearthside Senior Living, an independent retirement community and assisted living community, all on one campus in the heart of Lebanon. Call 615-443-1994 for a tour.
Coleman and Company, thanks for joining us. Dr. Donna Wright is here. Sean was alluding to what goes on when we're off. We never stop talking.
No, even after the show's over.
But you got okay. You got your plan. It's a call of the director, as you expressed it here. But you got a 7-0 blessing from the Board of Education,
and that was important
last night. So. What else did y'all do last night?
Well, and last night, I mean, it was a regular meeting, but there were so many things that needed to be addressed because we're working under, different circumstances and trying to, again, it was live stream. We did not have the public in the building, but there was something that, in fact, people were texting us even during the meeting. But one of the things that we had to act on was first and final reading on emergency procedures. We had to make some changes to some of our existing policies based on direction from the State Board of Education back on April the 9th. And what they did, again, they have the ability to create emergency procedures that will stay in effect for 180 days. With that more or less prompts school districts that they have to address their policies likewise. Graduation, for example, as far as, we end school on, they gave an ending date of March the 20th as far as how to adjust grades, work with grades, how students that had incompletes, whatever it might be, the State Board of Education gave direction on grading, graduation, teacher evaluations that weren't finished for the year. And so there was a myriad of things that, because of the unique situation, circumstances we found ourselves across the state, local policies had to be adjusted, and so that was passed last night as well. And it stays in effect for a year. And again, once that, then there's an ending or a terminal date on that, and then we'll revert back to the existing policy prior to the emergency procedures.
Good. Other things?
And then we did, as far as some just adjustments, as far as on some budget amendments, we're getting to the end of the year. Some prompting on there. Some good news that I shared with the board. U.S. News and Report does a high school ranking every year out of around nearly 18,000 high schools that are ranked based on college readiness, looking at graduation rates, looking at the number of students they serve as far as a diverse population, looking at the number of AP courses. So again, 18,000 ranked high schools. And all four of our high schools, not only as far as state ranking, but high school rankings across the nation. Right now, we are in the top third, all four high schools nationally. When you look at that as a state, there's 345 ranked high schools. Again, there's more high schools in the state, but we're referring to public high schools that are ranked by those factors. And we're in the top 100 with all four schools. Mount Juliet High School is number 29. And then you look at when you the three, Watertown, Wilson Central, and Lebanon High School are ranging from in that 80, I think it was like 81, 82, and 83, boom, boom, boom. And so they've increased every year as far as moving up into that advantage. And so that is huge when you look at not only what we offer, but looking at performance. Again, all four high schools are in the top 5% in the state, which is that there's a great deal of pride there. We also recognize this week is the 4th through the 8th is Teacher Appreciation Week. And what better time to really not only praise, uplift those folks that are behind the scenes right now doing incredible work, reaching out to students in ways that they never could have imagined. So we recognize them as well. And just some things that were probably that everyone was waiting to hear about. Graduation dates, they're tentative. We had the governor's guidance even on how to hold one on the football field because we don't know what the day will bring. But Lebanon High School will have a tentative date on June the 16th, Mount Juliet High School on June the 18th, Wilson Central on the 19th, and Watertown Saturday morning on the 20th at 10 o'clock. And so right now they're all football fields because Murphy Center was not an option. And
what do you anticipate here?
Well, right now,
how much social distancing is going to be required, or will it? I mean, are you just going to gather like it was a football game or a graduation on the football field in the past, or?
Well, there was guidance that was presented by the governor.
Okay.
And the recommendation is that you will skip every other row and maybe fingertip length. Well, our graduations are anywhere from 6,000 to 8,000 people. We'll probably have to give out tickets or whatever. But I told them I suggest that we just bring a lawn chair and just, and just have an old-fashioned get-together because it's going to be one of those things we don't know. But the thing we do know.
But you are,
yes,
God willing, going to have a graduation.
Absolutely. And no storms or anything else. But the students and their families need this.
Yeah.
They've not had any kind of closure, and senior year is a big event. The other thing, I've had some young ladies make sure that I've seen pictures of their prom dress that they purchased that's hanging in the closet, and that's another important event. And so maybe we have proms in July. There's not a thing that says that we can't.
Probably graduation night, there's at least a handful in my class, and that's the last time I probably saw them.
Oh yeah. But but the thing is that I've talked to quite a few students, and some of it they reach out. It just amazes me, and it really touches my heart. But I tell them this is a point in time that we will remember because it will be marked by the year of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But more so than anything else, as far as how did our lives change this year?
Oh yeah.
And I'm ready for a do-over. I mean, we're just now into the 5th month of 2020, and the trial period's over for me. I'm ready to start over.
Well, and I recall another song. I bet you remember the 4 freshmen will always remember graduation
yes,
day.
Yes, I do.
So
that shows our age, Coleman.
one of my favorite songs.
Yes, absolutely.
If I could, what has this done to your bank account, to the money? I mean, the teachers, I think, have been being paid, your personnel, but I don't guess you spent as much for buses. Buses hadn't been running.
And utilities.
How are you? How are we money-wise?
Well, and that's how we ended the night last night. Everything's budgeted from year to year. So, we're operating on the 2019-2020 budget. And so one of the things that we kept rolling as far as making sure our bus drivers, making sure what I refer to as our support personnel. Mm-hmm. We can't make it without them. And as traumatic as it's been as far as just even to keep and retain, it was very important. But then our bus drivers were out doing a lot of volunteer work as far as during the tornadoes. Food services. Since March 17th, we have compiled well over 30,000 meals for students. And those folks, again, a big shout out. There's fear out there, no matter how we try to frame it, but they were feeding our kids. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have to. They didn't have to. So that's another big shout out to them as far as what they provide. But boy, it went deep into food services budget because it was not just for your economically disadvantaged youngsters, which we receive federal subsidies on, but it was open to any student 18 or younger. We didn't question where the kids were coming from, and they might have been out of county. So you've got to have that as well. And then teachers. They've not missed a beat. as far as, and it wasn't as much about the instruction, and some of them were able to because it's easier, particularly for the young grades, but reaching out and touching those kids to give reassurances that, I miss you, I care about you, we're going to get back, it's going to be okay. But also putting those reassurances with parents that, it seems like, this is just a loss of education, but every moment that you're working with your children is an educational moment. And we have a plan for that. I mean, that's something I brought up with the board last night, already working with each school, but also as a district, an entry plan when we come back to school. An entry plan being, it's not much different that we do every year coming off from summer break, but we're going to do a deep dive because we have diagnostic tools. Is there a gap? Was there a loss of learning? What is it that we need to address before we start introducing the new instruction? And it's one of the things just to give not only reassurance for that youngster that, it's all going to be good because we're going to get excited about new learning, but let's make sure that if there's something that we need to go back and the multiplication and division of fractions, which is a big piece, we're going to do that. But we're also planning as a district, because one of the first things that I was asked, maybe 2 weeks after, it says, well, what's your contingency plan?
Yeah.
And I had to, not being flippant, but looked at them as, as a family. Well, what was your contingency plan? We were all caught off guard. Plans are good, but if you can't execute them, and that was the thing that we've got to look at, our world's changed. How do we deliver instruction if we face something like this again, or whether it's a flu outbreak or inclement weather, who knows? But we are really doing some deep dives into as far as how can we look at providing, should our world turn upside down again, and be able to provide instruction as well as support for our kids.
We've come to the end of our time here this morning, but you've given us a lot of good information, and I'm glad you've come up with a plan here that sounds very good to me, and that you've gotten a lot of favorable comments for. Hopefully we're more on the same page.
I think so. I really think so.
I hope we are.
And the thing is, I've told everyone, I said, there's going to be some issues. But that happens with even the opening of any school year. But just work with us. We're going to make sure that we get information out. It's going to be a tight fit, but that means there's just more love to go around. But we'll also figure out the social distancing as well.
Dr. Donna Wright, Director of Schools, has been my guest, and that's it for a Tuesday. Join us tomorrow. Till then, I wish you a terrific day.